Hello, folks. Good afternoon. It's my huge pleasure to be at this conference to present for this amazing group of people. And before I do anything else, let me just run super quick demo to basically set the stage. What do you see here? Task Manager from my device, and this is Surface Laptop 7th edition, and this is important because it has this special thing called NPU, Neural Processing Unit. We'll talk about what this later. And this is my quick demo hosted on Vercel. It runs a couple of generative AI tasks or AI tasks. Maybe you don't even need to be, sorry, where is everything? To make it generative, right? So let's give it a try. You can choose through a couple of APIs, and I've chosen this device to run this image classification. Let's just try to understand what's going on this picture. And let me choose this option for quantization. Let's run classify. Yeah, folks, and this small spike means a lot for you as JavaScript developers, as front-end developers, for our users. These days, it takes, let's say, some prerequisites to make that work, starting from having a device with this NPU at all. But soon, I hope very soon, this will be just kind of default scenario how we build our in-browser generative AI applications. And by the way, I have another look here. So you see, I'm not on internet, so I didn't even ask organizers what is Wi-Fi here, and it's intentional because I just want to make sure that you make sure that this demo is running fully offline. Let's give reload, just and let's try to classify another picture. And like this spike was initiated by feature detection that I do to detect device. Yeah. Now let's talk about what's going on and how to get to that point as web front-end developers. Let me switch to my slides and let me start slideshow. Yes, my session today is about generative AI, but not general generative AI, but the one that you can run straight in your browser. You, or maybe what's more important, your users, your customers. Yeah, time to say a few words about myself, after all, very quickly. So first of all, I mix music, and not regular music, but AI-generated music. So maybe I'm the world's first DJ who only mixes techno, house, everything that is purely generated by AI. So in that sense, yeah, I'm a human DJ mixing music created by robots. I'm a developer myself for many years, since late 90s, and I'm a huge fan of developer communities like that one. So in Oslo, where I'm based, I run few meetups. I started a couple of conferences. So I'm always, I love to be a part of community. I love this feeling. And yeah, my main topics is everything about web, everything about generative AI, and what's most relevant for this context, I'm proud member of Web Machine Learning Community Group. This is not standard body that actually creates this standard and makes machine learning first-class web citizen by incubating, but we are here to support this, let's say, standard committee itself by providing real-time feedback, real-life feedback from our users, from ourselves. So yeah, that's also my great pleasure to contribute to emerging web standards. More prerequisites first. First, survey and research by Google, but by Intel demonstrated that we actively use PC, our laptops, for web. We use AI super actively. We want and we have already AI capable devices, and we'll have more and more. I mean, percentage of devices that can run something straight on the device will only grow. We want performance, privacy, and we don't want to depend on the network. we want everything for free, right? So we don't want to pay to providers of these large language model services, all these APIs, if we already invested in device itself, right? So why do we ever need to call these external services? As developers, we always prefer to have unified code base, right? Like write once, run everywhere, or at least something close to this. This is kind of our dream. And as developers, we also want to have abstraction level that is comfortable to our skills, to our expertise. I mean, if I'm app developer, I don't want to dive too deep into data science, into machine learning. I mean, at least not now, right? I just need to do my task. I want to create application that is AI enabled. So all these arrows, all these thoughts came to a very clear vision. We need something to run AI in the browser natively. And of course, it's great if it's somehow standardized. First of all, there are already quite a few options for us, for our users, to run some AI workloads, including generative AI, locally on their device. And even though they are not part of my today's session, I just want briefly tell about them. Maybe this could be relevant for your particular scenario. First of all, we have amazing tool called Olama. You just download this native application, I mean native for your operating system, and yeah, spin it up in terminal and just send your prompts, send your queries there. Local, yes. Native, as close as possible to this, but it's not web, right? It's let's say native application. New breed of APIs is coming from browser vendors, at least several of them. They basically want to ship large language model, or at least way to download this in like standardized way as a part of the browser itself. So the browser itself will expose some APIs that you can leverage to achieve some AI-related tasks. Starting from prompt API, this is the most general and let's say the most controversial part of all the story. But there is also a set of task-based APIs, like for summarization, for translation, something like that. I mean, native, yes. Web, yes, but it's, let's say, on its early way to be standardized. And there is no, let's say, full agreement between browser vendors yet, but I mean, it's coming, but maybe a bit later. And also, just for information, what I call, with all respect, as a first generation of machine learning and Gen AI framework, like TensorFlow, Web LLM, they work, yeah, they native, or let's say as close to native as possible. It's all about web, but yeah, use cases are limited, and as I mentioned, that not fully native. And yeah, I will explain in details what I personally mean by being really native if you talk about web technologies. So this is why another standard appeared, right? I mean, we are not big fans of building new standards, right? And like there is famous this comic, like we have 15 different standards, let's standardize everything. So result 16 different standards. But I hope that I will confirm that this one appeared for a reason. I mean, this is standard that missing gaps in what already exists as standards. And after all, yeah, we are talking about one unified code base that in the future, hopefully all browser vendors will support, and will have less fewer ifs in our code, fewer feature detection, but yeah, it's coming. So WebNN, or Web Neural Network API, it's near native execution performance, and on one of the next slides I have exact numbers. What does this mean exactly, near native, in terms of speed of inference and performing tasks? It supports multiple types of hardware for running AI workloads. And if you talk NPU, specifically this neural processing unit, well, let me go back for a second. Well, there is no other standard or way for you to use NPU from the browser. I mean, only this component makes WebNN completely unique. Well, it's on the way to become standard of World Wide Web Consortium. And you see, I quite often update this screenshot. So the latest version of the draft is March 19th, just a couple of weeks, right? It knows nothing and it doesn't want anything about model you want to use as a part of your machine learning experience. And that's for a reason, because it's as generic as possible in that sense. And really great that this standard was not created in vacuum. It was not created like in total space. It was created with having thoughts about existing machine learning frameworks in mind. And it was created with some practical use cases in mind. Basically, a list of these use cases, even part of the standard itself. So this is like how like folks gathered and started to think, okay, what can web users, what browser users can get of running something locally, like, or we can call it on the edge, right? And this set of use cases came up, and I just highlighted one of them, text generation. Maybe this is the most visible if we talk about generative AI, right? And the rest is more or less like classic AI. So this is how this layered pie of edge AI ecosystem looks like. And like order of the layers is super important. It all runs on something physical, right? Hardware, different ways of hardware that can support our AI workloads. Then there is a level of operating system or platform native frameworks. I mean, this is endlessly far from web. This is definitely not JavaScript, something that can use this hardware with as performant as possible, like direct access. So I don't know, they use assembler, bytecode, C, C++, whatever. On top of that, we have our favorite web engines. This is where we web developers jump in, and we have browsers, and we have JavaScript runtime as a part of backend. Set of web APIs already in place that are relevant for AI workloads, WebAssembly, WebGPU, our dear hero WebNN. On top of that, set of higher level frameworks, and we'll briefly talk about that moves us to the next abstraction level to make sure that we have great developer experience. And of course, like on top of everything, real needs of us, of our users. You might want to ask me, how well is this WebNN connected to underlying levels and the levels that go on top? I have answer, and very informed answer for you, and you can go and check, and this is like changing live. It's web machine learning, GitHub, WebNN status. This is when we talk about WebNN as front end, as something that goes on top of native machine learning frameworks. You see that support is quite good across multiple platforms, multiple operating systems. Yeah, I mean, it's really very well connected. That means that this standard was created and implemented in the browser with having these frameworks in mind, right? So again, just to double down on what I mentioned about this standard appeared not in full vacuum. And if you talk about web neural network as a backend for higher level, higher abstraction JavaScript frameworks, let's just go only one level up, and here we can list Onyx, and I have a couple of slides on what Onyx is, because no doubt you will need this knowledge if on your way to build in browser generative AI experience. And Light RT, that is basically a new name for TensorFlow JS. Yeah, you see, if in one case support is 100%, here support is 0%, but there is hope, right? There are lots of things work in progress for Light RT, and the framework itself is under, let's say, rethinking, restructuring. So definitely they will be connected with WebNN2. I mean, connected as very straightforward option. Like these frameworks, Onyx, Runtime Web, and LightRT will use WebNN as a backend, maybe like pluggable, right? And maybe they can leverage other backends as well. If we go back to very bottom of this generative AI layered pie. Let's briefly talk about devices, where we actually can run all these heavy computational tasks. Because, yeah, normally AI, this is about heavy computing, right? Of course, CPU, this is, I mean, it's everywhere, and this is giving us the broadest compatibility. Definitely not speed, maybe not new interesting features, but yeah, with some magic provided by WebAssembly, you can do some, I don't know, text summarization, image classification, all these tasks without ever thinking about GPUs or NPUs or like your users. If we talk about developer role. GPU, it's all about throughput, all about performance. And even though GPUs, as name says, it's graphics processing unit, that it was not invented for machine learning, right? And it was not invented for mining Bitcoins, but turned out that this piece of hardware just perfect for this particular task. And current level, if I remember correctly, on caniuse.com, current level of GPU adoption among internet users is around 70%. So it's pretty safe, right? And of course, this percentage will only grow. NPU, this is definitely new kid in the block in this list of the devices. In some cases, it's not about performance, right? So it might be on pair with the GPU on running this or that AI tasks, might be less performant, but first of all, it's after all separate physical part of your device to run these workloads. That means that we can use CPU and GPU for, let me go back for a second, for something else. And second, it was specifically designed, specifically created for running long-running tasks. And yeah, sometimes in generative AI, it's not about speed of inference, right? So in many cases, we can wait a bit if we think that, okay, this process, this task will not drain our battery, will not drain our battery on our mobile device, either mobile phone or laptop. I wanted to, I mean, I don't have chance to provide some cool, shiny images of this NPU device itself, because in mainstream situation, this is not even separate chip. This is just a part of overall processing unit, right? So we call this separate device, but physically it's just some area on the overall chip, like GPU. Or that, I mean, of course we have external ones, but there are lots of built-in ones. So what does web neural network brings for users? First of all, like us in the role of users and folks we build our applications for. Low latency, since we don't need to send any network requests, right? Of course, I mean, let's be real. What we have on our local devices cannot be compared to what OpenAI, Microsoft, Google have on servers, right? If you talk about like some huge language model. So yeah, I think I just introduced a new term, HLM, huge language model, right? But even considering that, still we save on different point, right? We don't need to send this request to network and wait it back. We don't send any byte of our data outside of our local boundary, and this is game changer for lots of scenarios, for lots of use cases, for especially for like highly regulated industries. I mean, literally everything should happen straight on the device and only. We no longer rely on availability of these third-party providers. As long as our laptop, mobile phone, whatever device is running, we have these features in place. And yeah, once we invested in hardware piece, again, laptop or mobile, or maybe some new breed of devices is coming, we no longer spend dollars, cents, euros on consuming third-party LLM services. For the users. Now, for developers, for us. First of all, great advantage of native operating system services. As I mentioned, it's very well connected to this underlying level or layer. If something new appears there, that propagates to web neural network. It for being consistent, right? So it's to be a standard. Yeah, it's a bit early, so I don't know why my slides decided to run themselves. AI, right? So maybe it's a hint, Maxim, like don't stop. Consistency, right? And benefiting from next level of frameworks that go on top if you don't want to dive too deep into data science. This is how key parts of standard looked like just a couple of months ago. So, I mean, to run something, you choose device where to run this, and you choose a power preference, either like full performance or you want to save battery. But I mean, in between of my this and previous session, they changed their mind. I mean, these super smart folks who actually behind this standard. And there are many reasons actually why exact selection of the device where to run the workload should not be part of this standard. And first of all, if you're interested in details, there is quite long and detailed explainer of all this chain of thoughts of standard committee, why they took this quite fundamental decision, right? But yeah, and I was not super happy, right? So I will need to rewrite all my demos and everything, and be super careful with my next session that is just in a couple of weeks in London on the same topic. But yeah, after diving a bit deeper, I understand, yeah, they are absolutely right. And after all, they are super smart people, right? Who build this standard. But I mean, they of course they don't just exclude and farewell folks. No, they came up with some ideas, some alternative things that might be relevant for developers to use. And I mean, the final decision not taken yet. I will keep you posted. But let's start playing with this, or at least playing. I will have just a few high-level architecture slides, and prerequisite. I already mentioned that, I mean, you and your users cannot start leveraging WebNN and especially NPU part of this straight away. It's about being on cutting edge, like myself. Canary versions of the browsers, special flag enabled, and for enabling NPU part of your hardware, if you have this, like some extra steps to update drivers and operating system itself. If you look at the code that is driving this standard, well, it operates context, operand, graphs. I mean, folks who are data scientists, this is like bread and butter for them, but not for me. I'm app developer. I'm not super comfortable with code like that. I mean, maybe later I will dive deeper and explore how this computational graph works under the hood, but I want to do something here and now. And luckily, we have option for that. As I mentioned, WebNN is only one of potential levels you can use for building in browser, like offline ready experiences. And on top of this, if you look at slightly different perspective on the layers, high-level frameworks like Web Onyx Runtime and Transformers JS. And thanks to folks who built schedule for this conference, you built perfect transition, because Nico in his next session on this stage right after me and right after the break will dive much deeper into practical usage of Transformers JS. So I can save some minutes on being super short about that. And what is Onyx after all? I promise that you folks will hear this name like 1 hour after you started to dig into web AI. Onyx, first of all, this is format of the models we create, we train, we fine tune, we leverage for all kinds of AI inferences. And in addition to the model format itself, there is a set of runtimes, and you see that selection of platforms and programming languages is huge, right? I mean, this is very well supported, well adopted, super popular both model format and set of the runtimes. We are web developers, right? So this is why what's super interesting and most important for us from this like huge list, and this is I think only for like top part of the screenshot, is this one, Onyx Runtime Web. This is JavaScript framework that is also runtime for this Onyx model format. That means that, and you can take your model, and by the way, there are lots of converters from any model format to Onyx one. I mean, so you will, even if you run some other type of models, you can get to Onyx format quite easily. And yeah, it's JavaScript that you can run both on in Node.js and in the browser. That lets you get something from this model. And you see, abstraction level is totally different compared to graphs, operands, context. No, at least like we reference concrete model, and here we lock format of the models we work with. We create what's called inference session. It's already much closer to be looking something like a task, right? And then you basically actually run this inference and get results. Quite close, and we can leverage WebNN as execution provider. Already great connection of WebNN and Onyx, but maybe still not the application developer level yet, right? Still, you need to be quite deep into all this machine learning stuff. This is where Transformers.js jump in, and this is like exactly task-based experience for all developers. Literally provide task name, and you'll see that there are plethora of tasks is available. And yeah, provide model name, and basically that's it. Just run this and get your results immediately. In addition, it has tons of pre-trained models for you. So, I mean, for simple task, you don't even need to think, where do I go and grab model? So Transformers.js is now part of Hugging Face, this super popular, maybe the most popular repository for machine learning and AI models. And the majority, if not all of these models, are like open source and available. So yeah, you easily can find model for your task. You also can serve your own models if you wish, if you have something very specific, very customized, very fine-tuned, or created from scratch. And also, it completely seamlessly for you caches everything during the first load. So you remember that my application was completely offline ready. The application itself, I mean, all this UI and styles and icons, it's thanks to Workbox, maybe the most famous library for building progressive web applications. But caching model is purely, I mean, I wrote 0 lines for that. It's just there by default. So once we download this, like the models for image classification, these simple ones, and they around like 50 to 100 megabytes. So it's not really big. And yeah, you can have number of these tasks. The developer experience looks like that. You import pipeline, you create this method, and you just run this method. As simple as that. And at the same time, you can configure this, if you go a bit deeper, to use web neural network. And it's all thanks to the fact that Transformers.js use Onyx Web Runtime as backend, and Onyx Web Runtime can use WebNN as backend. So it's like jump, jump, jump. Number of pipelines is available for you, and this number is only growing. And in the next session, you'll see more detail. Now, quick summary and call to actions. Web standards are here, and they allow you to run AI natively in the browser. Wait a second. And WebNN, as of today, is the only way for us developers to use NPUs, right? Even though, stop, I don't know why the slides went a bit crazy. Yeah, WebNN is the only way to leverage this piece of hardware. Annoying, but there are moving parts, like in my slides. Luckily, high-level frameworks are available, and my personal hope that let me stay here. this annoyance with changing standard will be abstracted from us by smart and careful people who build Onyx, who build Transformers.js. So, I mean, maybe our code will remain as is after this changed standard will roll out to the browsers. Maybe some slight changes. That's my hope. So, after all, we need to be responsible for device selection. So experiment. Start building some cool stuff with AI on your client. Start using web GPU, WebNN, and it's all for your customers, right? Delight them, keep them informed. This is my UX advice. I mean, for example, if there is some megabytes, dozens of megabytes, hundreds of megabytes of model needs to be loaded, inform them before loading this, right? And some models easily could be a few gigabytes. If you want to provide fallback for cloud experience for this or that AI task, also please be very clear on that. And don't forget that we have amazing part of browsers functionality that called web workers. And you definitely want to put all these heavy computational workloads like AI ones into web worker. And both my examples, actually I have example in React with Next.js and Angular, because I created one for React conference and second for Angular conference. My thought was, okay, this is JavaScript conference, so I needed to create something for this one as well. It's like on my to-do list. Yeah, and yeah, I'm here to answer your questions. Maybe we have like a couple of minutes now, but this is my LinkedIn profile. My great pleasure to accept all your connection requests. Thank you.